Tonight, the on-again, off-again evacuation orders keeping Manitoba residents living in fear.
The magnitude of these fires have really taken our communities off guard.
Communities forced to flee, knowing they may not be coming back. The death toll mounts in Texas after catastrophic flooding, but the search for victims isn't over.
We will remain 100% dedicated, searching for every single one of the children who were at Camp Mystic, as well as anybody else in the entire riverbed.
Tragedy averted in Ontario by the quick thinking of a child.
If it wasn't for the swift action of a young 12-year-old and a bystander on the beach, we'd be having a very different conversation today.
Plus, where's the beef?
Prices have practically tripled for myself.
What's pushing up prices for meats and forcing shoppers to go without? And the ruckus over a rock band.
Dust on the wind.
The songs and photos devised by AI that strung along music fans for weeks.
CTV National News with Heather Butts. Reporting tonight, Mirella Fernandez.
Good evening. Some residents of northern Manitoba are living in constant fear. They are either on alert for wildfires or told to flee in a cycle that often repeats. CTV's Alex Carper tonight with an update on the ever-changing danger on the fire front.
Wildfires continue to threaten several communities in northern Manitoba. This video from Tatasquia Cree Nation shows large plumes of smoke surrounding the community. Leadership on Saturday confirmed through a social media post that at least 7 homes have been destroyed from the fire on Friday. This photo shows the trail of devastation from the air. Meanwhile, those living in Marcel Colombe Cree Nation near Lynn Lake are once again evacuating due to new and growing fires in the region. Those living in Leaf Rapids have been told they could be evacuating sometime soon. The city of Thompson, with about 13,000 people, is monitoring a new fire about 8 kilometers north of the city, and there are medical evacuations occurring in South Indian Lake and Pimicikamat Cree Nation.
The magnitude of these fires have really taken our communities off guard.
Grand Chief Garrison Settee has been keeping a close eye on the evolving situation up north. He is calling on the provincial and federal governments to increase resources and aid to the area to help not only the evacuees, but those on the front lines.
There's not enough equipment on the ground. There's not enough support with water bombers and all the essential equipment. Those are the challenges our First Nations face. So they're never ready to deal with any fire because of the equipment that's missing.
Manitoba has been dealing with one of its worst wildfire seasons in recent years. There are over 60 active wildfires throughout the province, with over a dozen of those out of control. Alex Carper, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A heat warning was posted for parts of southern Quebec today as the region dealt with another scorcher. In Montreal, people were still out despite the humidex making it feel in the 40s. The heat warning for the city was eventually called off, but a severe thunderstorm warning was kept in place. The country's biggest city also sweltering today, Toronto and much of Ontario baking under heat warnings. Toronto opening a number of cooling centers to help people beat the heat. In Texas, more than 80 people now confirmed dead, killed in the recent flash floods. Many of the victims are children, girls who were at a summer camp that sat right beside a river.
It was nothing short of horrific to see what those young children went through. And we will remain 100% dedicated, searching for every single one of the children who were at Camp Mystic, as well as anybody else in the entire riverbed, to make sure that they're going to be recovered.
Many are still missing more than 3 full days after the flooding that hit in the early morning hours on Friday. The disaster left behind is clear to see, and there are new fears tonight about more rain in the forecast that could make the search efforts more dangerous. Washington has been criticized for making cuts to the U.S. National Weather Service that some say impacted effort to predict the flood threat. The U.S. president pushed back on that this afternoon.
You look at that what a situation that all is, and that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup, but I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. I would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
Trump says he will probably visit the hard-hit area of Texas on Friday. We have an amazing story tonight from southeastern Ontario, where a senior got into trouble while swimming at a beach. A 12-year-old girl realized what was going on and quickly sprang into action, likely helping to save his life. CTV's Hannah Schmidt with the details of the rescue.
Emergency crews were called to this small cove in Port Dover Saturday afternoon after a 65-year-old swimmer experienced a medical episode while in the water.
I got notified. I was at the other end of the beach. I was notified that there was someone in distress having, they thought was a heart attack on the beach.
Thanks to a coordinated effort between a young relative and a nearby beachgoer, help came quickly.
12-year-old young girl, I think, was related to him and pulled him out of the water. Was able to get him close enough to the shore that some bystanders pulled him in, and then were able to start performing CPR immediately.
The swimmer was later transported to hospital.
After the individual was transported to the hospital, they were conscious and stable, and no major injuries. Without that swift action, that swift thinking, and ability to recognize a dangerous situation, it could have been a vastly different outcome.
The rescue follows several water-related fatalities across southwestern Ontario in recent weeks, including drownings at the Elora Quarry and Ipperwash Beach.
So there's often drownings in open water, and this year is no different. We are seeing those open water drownings happening far too frequently this year.
Life Saving Society Ontario says while summer draws more people to the water, conditions can change quickly, even for experienced swimmers.
July is always the most significant month for drownings. You need to inform yourself about what that body of water is like. Is it deep? Is it shallow? Is it rough? Are there currents? Lots of things can happen.
Police and safety officials are urging families to stay alert, especially when swimming at unsupervised beaches.
Choose lifeguard supervised settings. Only 1% of drownings in Ontario happen in lifeguard supervised settings.
This beach and other beaches across Norfolk County, they aren't staffed with lifeguards, so people need to be aware of that when they're coming into our beach areas, whether it's Port Dover or Turkey Point or Long Point.
They say this weekend's incident serves as a reminder that being prepared can make all the difference during peak beach season.
And these things, again, they can happen unexpectedly. If it wasn't for the swift action of a young 12-year-old and a bystander on the beach, we'd be having a very different conversation today.
Hannah Schmidt, CTV News, Port Dover.
Politicians usually visit the Calgary Stampede to flip some pancakes, shake some hands, and pose for photos. But the Conservative leader has a little more on his plate. He's trying to win over voters in an Alberta riding to regain a seat in Parliament. CTV's Colton Prale reports.
Standing in front of a Conservative crowd in Calgary,
it's great to be home.
Pierre Poilievre is pitching his political rebirth.
We don't back down and we don't run away when things get hard. We dust ourselves off, we get back in the saddle, and we gallop forward to the fight.
Conservative strategists say Poilievre has already been out door-knocking to garner support for the upcoming by-election in August. Part of the message to voters that Poilievre's not just there for a safe seat.
While he's from Alberta, he's not from that riding, so he has to show those voters that he's their guy.
The seat is seen to be safe. Former MP Damien Curick won the riding with nearly 83% of the vote this spring. But that also places a challenge on Poilievre, who won't want to be seen to underperform and who will have to manage growing support for Albertan separatism, which he's already come out against.
You can't tell Alberta to just pay up and shut up. Albertans want to be part of a united Canada, but they deserve to be treated with respect.
3 out of every 10 Albertans believe that they would be better off either as an independent country or as part of the United States. So it's a big factor.
Political experts point to recent provincial by-elections as reason for Conservative optimism. In Olds, Alberta, the separatist candidate came third, behind the NDP, but still managed 18% of the vote.
Tells me that those who are in favor of separatism really want more fairness, more representation of Alberta's interests within Canada. And if they get that, they're willing to stay.
Experts say Poilievre's message Saturday, which called for less federal government involvement in provinces and personal lives, could be a good start towards answering some of the concerns in separatist circles. Morella.
Thanks, Colton. CTV's Colton Prail in the nation's capital. Alberta beef and other meat may cost a lot more this year than it did last. A new global food index has been tracking climbing costs and the reason why some staples are taking a bigger bite out of the budget. CTV's Kamal Karamali has that tonight.
This Toronto butcher shop,
I'll send my friend,
bustling on this Sunday.
This is such a treat today.
A rare treat because meat for some has become a luxury.
Definitely meat is more.
Just listen to how much some of these meats,
Something like oxtail.
have gone up in price.
Prices have practically tripled for myself.
The owner of this shop, Marlon Rosenbaum, feeling a bit raw about how much he's had to dish out for some cuts.
It's a tough time for small businesses. Everything costs more than it ever did before.
Meat, one of multiple items to see a price jump globally this month. The other items, vegetable oil and dairy.
Meat now hitting an all-time high, up 2% since May, but rising more than 6% since last June. Vegetable oil also seeing a 2% increase since May, up 18% from last year. And although dairy only saw a 0.5% increase since May, it's jumped up 20% since this time last year.
We're seeing reduced production because there are fewer cows around. We've seen dry weather in North America in the last couple of years there's been less feed available.
Less feed available to raise cows not only puts the price of dairy on the rise, it means with a surging population, there's less to go around.
The world will be short 5 times Canada's national production by 2030, so that pressure will only increase.
But these global food prices don't always reflect Canadian food prices. Take vegetable oil, for example, surging in price globally, but in Canada, the cost has actually gone down.
We have excess supply of canola oil in this country, which is the predominant oil that we use.
All in all, people will still have to pay more for most foods.
So what gives you hope to keep going?
I think just trying to keep in mind that good quality meat is something that there will always be a demand for.
Hoping that for these customers, locally sourced meat will still be a cut above the rest. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
Washington has taken a scalpel to the public health budget in the U.S., but the cuts could come with a cost for Canada. Our country relies on sharing information so that serious health threats can be tracked and contained. CTV's Jeremy Charon joins us now. And Jeremy, what are doctors saying about this?
Morella, in an editorial posted this week in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, Canadian doctors are sounding the alarm on what they call a crisis of communicable diseases in North America, saying this country needs to step up. The main concern is that cuts to public health and research infrastructure in the U.S. is going to hamper Canada's health system's responses. The authors write that, quote, coordinated attacks on U.S. health institutions by the country's executive office have drastically reduced their capacity to collect, interpret, and share data in the service of public health delivery, data that Canada relies on for tracking the spread of infections.
We certainly were piggybacking on a lot of that, and now that that's been cut, it's definitely past time that we pick up the slack.
Infectious diseases expert Dr. Isaac Bogosh says now is the time to act on long-standing calls to increase Canada's health surveillance.
With or without the cuts in the United States, we can certainly increase our disease surveillance in Canada, but it's especially important because of the significant cuts that have been made to the CDC and the NIH and other institutions in the United States that help detect infectious diseases.
Experts point to infectious diseases like Mpox or measles as prime examples where better data collection can lead to earlier detection, greater prevention, and a better response. Morella?
All right, Jeremy. CTV's Jeremy Charon in Ottawa. A potential ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is expected to be on the table tomorrow when Benjamin Netanyahu meets Donald Trump at the White House. This will be the Israeli Prime Minister's third trip to Washington in the last 6 months. This visit comes as negotiations between Hamas and Israel are underway in Qatar. The U.S. president says he believes a ceasefire deal can be reached this week. Iran's supreme leader has appeared in public for the first time since the conflict with Israel erupted last month. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei attended a ceremony of mourning last night at a mosque near his residence in Tehran. He had retreated to a bunker when Israel targeted senior Iranian leaders in recent attacks. A joyous celebration in Nepal marking the 90th birthday of the Dalai Lama. The spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhists says he hopes to live until the age of 130 before being reincarnated as the next Buddhist leader. Coming up, the disappearing dépanneur.
The rent is going up, price is going up.
The rising costs of running a convenience store. Plus, the bogus band with a very real fan base. Growing up in Canada, you may have had a corner store you relied on to buy your lotto ticket or get an after-school snack. In Quebec, they're called dépanneurs. And as CTV Geneviève Beauchemin tells us, rising costs are forcing many to shut down.
Take care, buddy. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thanks.
At Brigesh Patel's convenience store, well, it's called a dépanneur. In Quebec, candy and lotto tickets come with a large helping of friendly service.
I come for him. Honestly. And I'm not joking around. He's very nice. He's very polite. You know, he's like family. Like, you know, he makes you feel like family.
But the cash register isn't ringing as it once did. Patel says business is down nearly 25% this year alone.
The rent is going up, price is going up, so people are not coming.
Over more than half a century, dépanneurs selling just about everything have been a neighborhood staple. But in recent years, many in Quebec, especially independently owned stores, have been forced to close up shop. A website called Dep Quebec tabulated that 550 have shut down in the past 2 years.
A declining of tobacco sales, lottery sales, but above all, excessive government regulation.
I used to sell this chocolate for $4.49, something like that. Now, $6.99.
Inflation, too, has driven customers to forgo the convenience of grabbing supplies in a store that is nearby, open longer, but generally pricier than big box stores. And unless a new business model emerges, it's unlikely this trend will be reversed, and so more and more consumers will find locked doors in their neighborhoods. Patel also says theft hurts his small business. You were really fed up with being stolen.
I was fed up.
He set up what he calls a wall of thieves / shame, with photos of suspects from his surveillance camera. But for now, at least, he has no plans to close up shop. And that's good news to many of the elderly neighbors he serves.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Johnny.
À prochaine. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Dorval, Quebec.
Still ahead, the new summer hotspot for Canadians. Why travel to Atlantic Canada just ticked up, and how airlines are moving to meet demand. Many Canadians are clearly still boycotting trips to the U.S. after Donald Trump started a trade war and threatened Canadian sovereignty. The ban is giving the East Coast a boost. As CTV's Maria Saru reports, some airlines are actually adding flights to Atlantic provinces.
Touching down in PEI just got a lot easier for Toronto travelers.
More options is better.
Porter now flies daily between Charlottetown and Canada's biggest city, up from 4 times per week. It also added new links to Moncton and Deer Lake. The airline says it ramped up service this summer, partly because more Canadians are skipping the States. It also has more jets to handle the influx.
We've made quite a few schedule changes in the U.S. over the past few months to reflect some softening of the demand.
In June, Statistics Canada data showed Canadian return trips from the U.S. fell for 5 straight months.
Because of Trump.
Because of the rhetoric from Trump about taking over Canada.
I guess they're just afraid of crossing over the border.
Porter says it's seeing 20% more domestic bookings from June through August than in 2024.
We go where the demand is. The overall PEI market is newer to us, but we've been able to grow our presence in there because people have tried us over the years and they want to keep trying us on all the markets they can.
It's not just Porter or PEI riding the wave. WestJet added direct flights to Halifax and Deer Lake from major cities across the country, and Air Canada expanded its schedule across the East Coast.
The runway's open, and airlines are watching what the numbers say. If the appetite for Atlantic Canada stays strong, new routes could be cleared for takeoff long term. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
Still ahead, don't believe everything you hear.
Dust on the wind, boots on the ground.
Real or a really good fake? The question's about a hot new band. We leave you tonight with a very real debate about a fake band. Music by the group called Velvet Sundown appeared on streaming services last month and quickly gained a following. It was weeks before anyone realized the music and photos of the band were all generated by AI. Here's CTV's John Venavelli-Rao.
AI is officially getting scary.
On TikTok, there's been plenty of buzz.
This is Velvet Sundown.
About the band, which is adding hundreds of thousands of listeners daily on Spotify.
Dust on the wind, boots on the ground.
Checking out songs AI generated, released by a supposed group called the Velvet Sundown, which very little is known about. And even if it's AI, many we played the music for were impressed.
I would say definitely if you put it on the radio, it would chart.
If you just told me and you didn't tell me that was AI, I probably wouldn't have known.
There are what appear to be AI-generated pictures of the group.
Are you sure we're not real?
Which has put out 2 albums and first flagged as suspicious by users on Reddit.
I think it's pretty good. I think it's no better or no worse than probably thousands of songs that come my way.
The attention it's getting intensifying the debate over whether AI music should be clearly labeled as such, something Spotify and many other streamers don't do.
It's basically the Wild West across Spotify because you can post content and you're not required to let anyone know that it is in fact AI generated.
Music streaming service Deezer uses a tool to detect AI songs. As of April, it said 18% of all music uploaded, that's 20,000 songs a day, are entirely AI generated. That company recently started flagging AI music to its listeners. The CEO writing, AI is not inherently good or bad, but we believe a responsible and transparent approach is key to building trust with our users and the music industry. Do you think they should label this stuff as AI?
I definitely think they should label it. I feel like some people just don't want to listen to AI content or see that.
But some aren't all that fussed about labeling.
I would listen to it anyway, even if it's AI, because good music's good music.
And no matter your views, it is another noteworthy AI moment. John Venavelli-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
That's a wrap on the day. Thanks for sharing your time with us. Have a good night.